can see you all starting to join now, which is great. Nice to see you, Deborah, Laura. Nice to have you join. Kardine, you got the link. Great, nice to see you. I'll just give everyone, sometimes it takes a few minutes to let everyone in, so I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to get joining. Just a bit of housekeeping while we get going. We've got Shellin on the call today as well, who's based in the US, and she's going to be monitoring our chat for us. So if you've got any questions, do use that feature. If you want us to address anything in particular, please do go ahead and use that feature, and she will raise it with me so we can help you out with whatever you need. So just give everyone another minute before we get going. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Few names I'm starting to recognise here, a few of you I've spoken to before. Hi, Rupert. Okay, we will get started with today's webinar. Thanks for joining us this evening or today or this morning, wherever you are. I know for me it's the evening, my son's just off to bed. Shellin, mid-morning for you, I think. Thanks for joining us.
It's 11:30.
And whereabouts are you based for everyone?
I am in Portland, Oregon in the United States on the West Coast.
Okay, and yeah, I'm in Hertfordshire in England. So I just know from a few of these names, we've got a few people from all over. So thanks for joining us from wherever you are. So we will crack on with get going on Salesforce. Where do I fit? As I said, if you want us to address anything specific, for those of you who are just joined, please do mention it in chat. Also, just so you're aware, I'm going to mention quite a few links throughout the webinar, places you can go for more information. Don't worry about having to scribble them down. We're going to send you some follow-up information after the event. I'll have all the links that you can explore in your own time. So yeah, please do concentrate, ask us some questions, and we'll send you all the information after. So Salesforce, where do I fit? I know we kind of decided to do this webinar because Shellin and I do a lot of calls with people who are interested in the program, and quite often quite a few of the same questions come up, and a lot of people talk about, well, I've got such and such a background, is this going to be good for me? So we thought it'd be great to host this webinar to answer a lot of those questions at once. So we want to make it clear that with a lot of people coming to Salesforce, we often talk about, hey, there's loads of opportunities in the industry. Why don't you pivot your career, start a new career in Salesforce? But actually, you don't need to start afresh. You can actually bring a lot of the experience you've got with you from almost whatever industry with you, add in your transferable skills, add some Salesforce skills on top of that, and that's going to open a lot of doors for you. So a lot of joining Salesforce isn't about starting again. It's about continuing to build your career, but in a new way, and Salesforce is really, really great for that. And I know Shellin and I will talk a little bit about our own examples and our own experiences of that a bit later on. So just want to start off by adding some context. So I know a few of you will know a little bit about Salesforce already. Some of you will be quite new to it. So just going to add some context around some of the words and terminology we'll be using. Quite often we talk about this thing called the ecosystem in Salesforce. And so just want to explain what that actually means, because it is where you will potentially be working if you decide to upskill in Salesforce. So everyone involved in Salesforce lives inside the ecosystem. So that could be Salesforce itself, working for Salesforce, the company, but it could also be an official software vendors, and that's something called ISVs, which is a term you might come across quite a lot. So that is companies that have pieces of software that help build and expand the functionality of Salesforce. So they could be, for example, a payment solution. Then there are Salesforce consultants. So a lot of you will probably already have heard of Heather, who's the founder of Supermums. She also runs her own consultancy, and that consultancy specializes in helping nonprofits implement Salesforce and building systems from scratch. But there are lots of different consultancies out there, and some of them specialize in different industries. So you could end up working for a consultancy. So consultancy is a part of the ecosystem. One of the biggest parts of the ecosystem are obviously all the customers, so the people who are using Salesforce, and you could end up working for one of those. Then we've got employees of Salesforce. So we have placed people at Salesforce before. I know one of our super mums works in the Marketing Cloud product at Salesforce itself, selling the product. So we have placed mums there as well. I think we place mums in all these places actually. And then we've got so trailblazers is a word you might come across, and you can see the little guy with the hoodie on the screen here. These are anyone who's just determined to build a career in Salesforce, is learning on the Salesforce platform called Trailhead, and you're going to be hearing a little bit more about trailblazers. There's actually a really great video and introduction to what that means on the link here. The link, I'll send with you some really great videos about people, giving real examples of people who have come from really varied backgrounds and are building really successful careers in the ecosystem. So you might hear this word trailblazer come up over and over again. And then we've got super mums, obviously, all of us. So anyone on our program and all of our team, we are super mums managing the juggle, especially at the moment. So the Salesforce community and the ecosystem is a really, really great place to learn. We can see some pictures here of our team getting out and about in the Salesforce community. The one in the bottom right hand of the screen was actually at was at London World Tour, which was really fun, bringing lots and lots of super mums together, even our little baby mascot down there in the corner. That was a really great day to meet everyone in person. At the moment, we are Salesforce, we're brilliant at moving a lot of events online. So there are a lot of meetups still happening online, but when we do get back to hopefully a little bit of normality eventually, there are lots of community meetups you can go to. The one of the team in the middle, or in our t-shirts, which I'm sporting today as well, that was actually at Dreamforce, which is Salesforce's huge annual conference in San Francisco, which we were lucky enough to go to last year to launch our program in the US. And then we've got Heather also speaking on stage there. A few of you may have also noticed the golden hoodie that she's wearing, and that's kind of one of the highest honors in Salesforce if you're a trailblazer, and she was awarded it for starting Supermums. She was awarded it by Salesforce for all the effort she's put into kind of empowering other women, and particularly mums with Salesforce skills, and bringing them into the ecosystem. So we at Supermums are part of this ecosystem. We've trained over 200 mums. These numbers are always changing, always rising, and some dads as well on the course. And not everyone who does our course is a mum, the majority are. The nature of our course means it's really great for parents because it's so flexible, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Over 100 charities have benefited from pro bono support from Supermums. And we've got 4 different courses. I'm going to be mainly talking later a little bit about our courses and what they involve. A few of you will be familiar with them already, but also lots of companies have supported what we do. That is through sponsorship, through hosting our Supermums on work experience, and also through offering in-kind support. So a big part of our programs is mentoring, one-to-one mentoring. We have loads of great volunteers from loads of different companies across the world who are doing that for us. So this is an example of some of those companies, and a good example of all the different companies that you might find in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we've got some Salesforce customers here. So we've got the likes of Dyson, a name that you may well have heard of, and also big names like Deloitte Digital and Accenture, you've probably heard of regardless of whether you know much about Salesforce or not. And then we've got others that you may not have heard of unless you're a little bit more familiar with Salesforce, and they include people like Validity and Conga, and they are the ISV partners that we were talking about before, who have products that support the use of Salesforce. So these are just some of our partners, and you can see down there the part of Trailhead Academy, particularly for our marketing course. So you may have heard of Trailhead and know that a lot of learning, when you're learning Salesforce, a lot of your learning is done in Trailhead, and we do utilize Trailhead, and we're all blazing our own trail using Trailhead, and I'll talk a little bit later about how that's involved in our courses. So moving on. Just as well, a little bit of context about all these jobs that are out there and the Salesforce economy itself. So the Salesforce ecosystem, or the Salesforce economy, the number of jobs that are growing in the industry. This was presented at Dreamforce 2019, so this was before the COVID-19 situation, but what I would say is that we have seen really positive signs of lots of opportunities still happening in Salesforce and in the Salesforce economy. So we do have a recruitment arm that has still been placing more mums than ever over the last few months, particularly in Salesforce administrator roles and developer roles as well. So there are still lots of opportunities, and we're hearing some really positive things about that. Shelly, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what you're hearing in the US, if you're still there. You've disappeared off my video screen, but hopefully you're still there.
I am, yes. Yes, we have a really good relationship with a recruiting company here in the States. And it's been really interesting to listen to them. They have recruiters all over the globe. They're a global organization and they work in a variety of sectors. And they have had, unfortunately, during this period of the pandemic and some of the challenges, they have had to lay off recruiters around the globe in different sectors, but their Salesforce specific recruiting team is running strong. They haven't had to do any layoffs. There certainly was a dip in new job requisitions, but as things have sort of settled down a bit, they've been getting, at the time that I had the conversation, 12 new a day was their average, which was great to see. So it's a very, for me, it was wonderful to see that even in a global, pandemic time, that there was active recruiting happening and people needing to, bring people on their team. And frankly, this period of time has really shown every company that those that have the ability and technology to nurture relationships with customers and prospects are much more able to pivot and deal with a variety of things that come up, including something as serious as what we're dealing with today.
Yeah, we're going to look a little bit later at an example of a Salesforce customer that uses some of the products that are enabling them to keep doing business during this time. A lot of those, relationship building software and commerce software that means that they're, doing more business than ever. So some really positive signs. And some of our mums have just landed some brilliant jobs in the last couple of weeks, which we're really excited about.
Absolutely.
Have we had any questions come in so far? Just do feel free to interrupt me at any time. Okay, great. I saw some comments coming in, but they're obviously just comments rather than questions at this stage. All right, moving on. So why do all these companies use Salesforce? So the numbers are always increasing, but over 150,000 companies globally use Salesforce. A lot of the Fortune 100 companies use Salesforce, and over 200,000 people attend Dreamforce, which is the big conference I mentioned in San Francisco. It was my first time there in November, and it kind of blows your mind how big it is, and it really helps you understand the scale of Salesforce and the opportunities. It's one of the things that once you're inside it, you can't realize you don't understand how you never heard of it before. But yeah, really, really huge, lots and lots of opportunities there. And kind of why do all these companies use it? So this is like quite a good slide that I found that I've borrowed here that shows really nicely what Salesforce does that some other organizations don't. So these down the side here, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, these are some of Salesforce's competitors in the kind of CRM marketplace. So we've got lots of different products on the platform that, and this is what Salesforce has this idea of the customer 360. So you can use all these different products to keep in touch with and importantly understand your customers and your potential customers so that you can engage with them successfully. So we've got sales, which is tracking sales pipeline from a lead all the way through to a successful sale. We've got service, so that might be used in something like, for example, a call center situation. So something like Vodafone, or if you're calling up to discuss your contract with a customer service representative, they're probably using Salesforce behind the scenes to track their conversations with you and find out information about previous conversations and all the products that you have got. Then we've got Marketing Cloud, which helps build consumer journeys. So marketing automation software. So when you get their emails showing things products that they think you're going to be interested in, Salesforce is working behind the scenes to do that. And importantly, a big part of Salesforce is data. It's managing the data, understanding the data, analyzing the data so they can effectively market the things that you want and you need and you're interested in to you. Then we've got e-commerce, so obviously buying things online, huge at the moment, massively taken off. We've got communities, which is where often if you have a product, well, I was actually trying to sort out some car insurance the other day, and you log in to your online account and you can see all the products that you have and all the offers that are due to you, and those kind of products can be built on the communities. And then they've got other tools which help all this function. So tools for collaborative working, everything is based in the cloud, so you can work remotely from anywhere, anyhow, mobile. There's a great mobile functionality that Salesforce has as well for people who are on the road. Then there's integration. So Salesforce recently bought MuleSoft, which helps all their products integrate with other products. And there's a whole variety of industries that all these products work across. And some of them are specialist for industries, particularly things like regulated industries. So things like pharmaceutical companies, there's a lot of regulation around how they can manage and store data. And Salesforce is a really trusted partner for some of those companies. So we've got a good example here of some of the industries that Salesforce is used across. So often when I'm talking to people who are interested in training on the phone, they'll be saying, oh, I've worked in marketing and financial services for years and I'm not sure if I want to continue, maybe a little bit disillusioned with it. And what I always say is, okay, well, rethink what opportunities could come to you that utilize that knowledge that you've got and build on it. So it's not working for you right now, but if we add some other skills into the mix, some other really needed skills, some skills that are really in demand by employers, that's going to give you a lot of opportunity and a lot of freedom as you build your skills and experience to make decisions to make your career work for you. So financial services, health and life sciences, retail, consumer products, manufacturing, comms, government, travel, and hospitality. One that isn't on here that Salesforce is also very big on is the not-for-profit sector. And that's actually how I found out about Salesforce, because I work for a charity. And Salesforce, as you come to understand the business more, you'll know they do a lot around corporate responsibility. They have this thing called the 1-1-1 philosophy. So they give away 1% of their product to charities so they can get a number of free licenses. And for that reason, a lot of charities do use Salesforce for things like managing their donors or managing service users as well. And I can definitely talk a little bit more about that if anyone is interested later. So just some examples here that I wanted to bring up, just a list of names that you would have heard of, and this is a really good thing to explore later if you're interested in finding out more exactly about how some customers use Salesforce. These ones I chose because hopefully they're ones that you all will have heard of, but a great place to look is if you search Salesforce customer success stories. Again, I'm going to send you a link. You can read, and they give you a really good insight into how companies use Salesforce and where you might fit within that. So I'm actually just going to stop sharing this screen for a minute and start sharing another screen so we can take a look at an example of how Salesforce fits into one industry. Here we've got retail, just a brand that I think a lot of you will have heard of. So if I just stop this share, I'm just going to start another one. Hopefully here. No, not that one. Sorry, bear with me for a moment. Here we go. That's the one I was looking for. So this was actually what I was talking about earlier, Meet the Trailblazers. You can have a look at that link in your own time. There's some really great videos there, including one of Heather, our founder, and about her Trailblazer story, which is really nice if you want to understand a little bit more about the background of Supermums. But for now, this is what a Salesforce customer success story looks like. So it will show you the company and the products they use. So here you can see that just Adidas uses several different Salesforce products, and you could fit into any of those. So if you've got a marketing background, you could be working in Salesforce, but with the Marketing Cloud product. And that is a product that we do have training for that you can learn with us. We've had a really great launch of that course in the UK this year, and hopefully towards the end of the year, we'll be launching it in the US as well. Had a few people pass those exams already, which is really great news just last week. So Marketing Cloud is all about marketing, so consumer journeys. So if you're like a really creative person, have got a background in marketing, you can add a few technical skills to that and be a really useful hire within an organization, or working for a consultancy as well. So the reason we started the Marketing Cloud course was because we had so many companies asking for those skills, for Marketing Cloud skills. So the demand is definitely there. You can see they use Commerce Cloud as well, so for selling products, and Service Cloud for providing customer service as well. So you can read a little bit more about their story here, but just to have a look at that, what that means in reality is we've got here, this is like FAQs, so this would be built on Service Cloud and Community. So Salesforce is working in the background here to pull up all the answers to the key questions that customers might have. And then we've got, I'm not logged in, I haven't signed up to the Adidas Creators Club, but this is probably run on something like, it will be something like Communities, where you can log in and see all of your information about your products, and I think anything you want to design with Adidas. So if you, again, this is like quite creative. If you're a creative person getting involved, you could be getting involved in this side of things using your Salesforce skills. So bear with me while I try and switch back. Great. So within, just within Adidas, you could be working in any one of those products. So if you've got a customer service background, you could be looking at, okay, how do we manage that on a technical front? Or you could be looking at building the possible scenarios that customers could be coming to you with, and supplying answers and thinking about how to manage that. So there's so many different ways and so many different skills that could be involved just for one company using Salesforce. One of the ones I quite liked reading about was, if you go back a step, that the Ellen show uses Salesforce to manage all the product giveaways that they do. That's quite an interesting one to read about as well. And Aston Martin, we've got here, we've actually placed a mum in Aston Martin on their admin team there as well. And there's a great one there's a great customer success story video on YouTube about Barclays as well, as they build their customer banking on Salesforce. So hopping along, just want to talk a little about some specific examples we've got of mums who have used their skills and their background to transfer into a new career. So this is Jasmine. She's a super mum that I know quite well because she still works for Heather at Economic Change, because she is now a solutions consultant. But she had a background in the telecommunications industry, had been working in that for quite a while, but when she fell pregnant, was looking for a new challenge and a way to be more flexible, because she found her current path, and I've heard this from a lot of mums in this industry, just didn't find it very flexible. So wanted to add some skills that would mean she could be a bit more choosy about what she wanted to do. And she is one of our real trailblazers. So she's gone on to take lots of Salesforce certifications. So she started with her admin certification, doing our Super Mums course. Really enjoyed that and hasn't stopped learning and developing since. So she does a lot of studying alongside her work, and she's now got 9 certifications. And she chose to specialize in marketing. Because once you get into Salesforce, you can choose the different routes you want to go, whether that be getting a specialization in Service Cloud, whether that be financial force and looking at the financial services industry, whether that be, in this case, marketing. So she's found her soft skills and her hard skills really transferable in this case, because she was used to managing lots of different projects for lots of different marketing campaigns. That's transferred because now she's a consultant. She's managing lots of different implementations for lots of different clients, has to switch between them all the time. So she's found that kind of project management element a really, really useful soft skill transfer. But then, you know, the hard skills, understanding marketing, understanding kind of the terminology, understanding what marketers are going to be looking for and how they're going to use the system, because she's been on the other side of it, has been immensely useful and made her a better consultant, because she can put herself in the shoes of the people that she's trying to help. So she is now a solutions consultant, and she specializes in Salesforce implementations, but also helps with Pardot. And Pardot is a Salesforce automation tool that that plugs into Salesforce. So she has managed to combine marketing and Salesforce and get herself this new career where she works. Can't remember what exact day she works, but she definitely works flexibly. She's got a couple of kids at home, so I know she's often works from home a few days a week. She always used to be in the office on a Friday. That's occasionally when I would see her. Obviously, everything's different right now, and we're all just doing what we can. But I know even before lockdown, she was working very flexibly and quite often at home. So that definitely kind of gave her the flexibility that she needed. Another example, we've got someone from more of a business-to-business sales background. So Deborah, another supermum, you might have seen her. She's also one of our ambassadors, so talks a lot about supermums out in the community and about what we do. But she worked in recruitment for the tech industry, so did a lot of account management with big clients and companies looking to take on people. And she trained in Salesforce and then has switched that to now working for one of these ISV partners that we talked about. So she is managing accounts of people who have bought the products that Validity sell, which is things like email verification software and making sure that you don't have too many duplicate contacts in your system. So she had to know about Salesforce to be able to advise customers on the best route forward with their products. So she's applied her sales skills and her customer account skills with some Salesforce skills as well to move into that industry. So then we did decide, Shellin and I, it's not really just me, this slide. I don't know if Shellin, you want to put your video back on and say hi and we can jump in here. We just thought it beneficial to talk about our own experiences because we were just discussing this the other day when we were talking about doing this webinar, and I used to say, oh, I'm a bit of an anomaly because I do work with supermums now, but we realised that's not the case. I think Heather herself has taken on about 10 people now, at least in either economic change, her consultancy, or within supermums. So Shailene and I both came off supermums courses and now continue to work with Heather. I came to Salesforce because, as I mentioned, I was working in the charity sector. So I was a project manager, and to be honest, I've done a bit of everything. I've done fundraising, I've done service delivery, I've done project management, often had to write reports and accounts. And one of my biggest challenges was always having 100 spreadsheets about all the things we'd done across the year and having to make it into a nice report at the end and trying to bring all those spreadsheets together and find out what we'd actually achieved and put that into a nice report. And it was always a pain. And then I found out about Salesforce and I was like, this is what we need. Because Salesforce has some really great reporting tools, and that is a huge part of Salesforce, is its ability to not only collect and keep the data and keep it securely and logically and in a way that everyone can access securely, safely and easily, because it is quite a straightforward platform to use once you get into it. But it can do a lot of data analysis for you. So it can pull out all those reports at the drop of a hat. And as part of the administrator course, that is something you will learn to do. You will learn to build those reports so that people can use them the way they need it to be used. And it just revolutionized how we worked as a charity when we got it, and made all our lives a lot easier. And I was like, this is interesting. And we actually had a supermum come and do the implementation in the charity that I was working at. And I thought, I could do the piece of that. And so I signed up to the course myself, and now here I am working with Heather. We are a social enterprise ourselves, so we are not profit making, and anything we do make goes back into improving our courses, and I can talk a little bit more about that later. But so I'm bringing some of my, part of what I do is talk to people about doing the course, but a big part is working with our corporate sponsors and encouraging companies to be a big part of it. And that's what I did in my old role in charities as well. So those skills have really transferred really, really nicely over to this role as well. And I do a lot of Salesforce admin on our org as well. So still using all those Salesforce skills, as well as a user. I also do a lot of the administration too. Shailene, what about yourself? Do you want to just say a little bit about your story?
Sure, absolutely. So I come from a 20-year background in corporate sales, employee benefits, mostly insurance for businesses for their employees. And I spent a lot of that time as a sales director. And so much of my time was really tracking, kind of similar, building spreadsheets, trying to keep track of pipeline and projections. And just, it was very interesting to work for organizations that had plenty of resources, but to still be spending so much of my time. Turnover with sales reps that covered territories was so painful, because when they left, all of their intellectual property and call activity and notes and everything left with them, because we did not have a centralized place. And as Salesforce was rolled into one of the organizations that I worked for, I was part of that team, and I was really blown away by what it could do. And I just felt really inspired to learn about Salesforce and to know that it was a growing sector and such a thriving company and thriving space, that there was incredible opportunities. And I became a mother of twins while I was in corporate America, and it was very painful. It did not work well. And having this sort of skill set, and specifically having the Supermoms community, I just could really envision how to, be paid well. I wanted to be paid well. I needed to be paid well, but have a career that was more flexible, but that could really take the decade, plus of work that I had done building a network and building my skills, and just move it right into a new space with Salesforce. It was terrific. And I did, Abby, there was a question about our location. We do have a lot of students and do a lot of work in the UK and now in the United States, but the question was, do we have plans in Africa? But we are expanding into Australia at the moment, and really anyone around the world can participate in the programs. They are at the moment all taught in English, so that would be an element that would need to exist, but there really isn't anything that is country specific.
Yeah, so we have had people on the course out of South Africa before. So although we actually talk about EMEA, so Europe time zone, and we've got a US time zone, and we're planning on launching a time zone in kind of Asia Pac, so probably based out of Australia. But all that means is the webinars are during those time zones. So, we do one at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday in the UK, and 10 o'clock in the morning out of a Pacific time zone in the US as well, just so people can actually have a chance of attending the webinars. But you can actually be anywhere and do it anywhere in the world. So we run our, particularly our European course, we kind of went global. Heather always says we went global by accident, because people were joining from all over the place. So we've had people in Spain, in France, in Germany, we've had someone in Poland before. Definitely all our volunteers are global. So when I was on the course, my volunteer, so they tried to match you with people with similar backgrounds or skills or industry if possible. My volunteer was actually someone with a not-for-profit background, but they were based in the US. So we would have a web call on a Sunday evening, my time, mid-afternoon, her time, I think. So yeah, it really doesn't matter where you are, but as Shannon said, it is about, all Salesforce exams are in English, so you need to have a decent, and so our courses are as well. So you do need to be able to, so people do need to be able to understand English, but that's about it. Otherwise, the courses are super flexible, so you can take them wherever you are. That's a great part of it. And, that was a big part of it for me as well, because I had how old was my son when I started? He wasn't quite 1 when I started the course. And so I was still working part-time as well, had a small kid, so I needed it to be flexible. And it really was. We use a variety of tools that mean, you can go to the live webinars, but if you can't, you can watch them later on catch up, on record, and dip in and out of little sections of the training as it suits you. But we are getting a little bit off topic, because we are going to come a little bit, and especially at the end, just answer some questions and talk through the specifics of the course a little bit in more detail. But just to get back to the knowledge and skill transfer. So yeah, we both have examples there, typical examples of how we haven't left it behind, especially, when you are a mum, literally in so many ways, you can't afford to. You can't afford to give up all that experience that you've got, and you don't want to and shouldn't have to. And what that also means is that you're not starting again at a salary level either. So if you are an experienced marketer, or if you are an experienced project manager, you're not going back to the bottom step of the ladder in terms of salary either, especially in those really desirable skills. We're going to be able to place you in jobs depending on what they are. It depends on the roles. but you're not necessarily going to be starting at a beginner's level salary again when you've got loads of marketing experience that you can bring to that role if that's what that role needs. Having said that, if you want to completely leave some of that behind and just start something entirely new and start as a junior admin in a whole new industry, you can do that as well. But it's not necessary, and that's kind of what I always try and make sure people understand. Then, you know, not everyone is coming immediately from work. We understand that some of you may have career gaps as well. So we've got Permjit, who had been in work, then was off work for a significant period of time. I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere between 8 and 10 years, I think, raising 3 children and also supporting her husband in the development of his own business. So she herself had been out of work for a little while and was just so keen to get going again. And now her children were a bit older, really keen to learn something new and do something for herself and reclaim some of that time and that independence. So she just really enjoyed learned very quickly, and she then got a role as a Salesforce consultant for a not-for-profit as well after that in the charity sector. So just wanted to say that even if you've had a bit of a break, you know, we can still work with that, and that's a very common situation for a lot of our mums as well. That is the reason why in our courses we do cover a little more than just passing the exam on a technical level. So for example, we've got there are 2 courses if you're new to Salesforce that are suitable for you that we have. One is our administrator course, which is like if you've never done anything with Salesforce before, that's the place to start. And it's a really good grounding, no matter what industry or what particular sector of Salesforce you want to work in, that's your starting point. However, if you've got a marketing background, you can start straight away with our Marketing Cloud course. So both of those will teach you the basics and help you then move forward. So Permjit did our admin course, but if you've got a marketing background, so for example, on our marketing course, we teach you the technical skills around Marketing Cloud, and there are some updates we expect you to have a bit of understanding of marketing theory, but then there are some updates, so some videos on you know, the rise in digital marketing and what that looks like now to help bring you a little bit more up to speed with what's happening in that industry. In our admin course, we include some material around project management in the tech industry, and particularly in Salesforce. So you understand a bit more of the context and how to put it into practice. And then we've then got some other courses that you could do after the admin course to build your confidence as you go into your first role. So any questions at this point? I can see some more messages coming in. Can take a bit of a breather. Okay, we have got, sorry, Shelley.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna tell it, sorry, I took a second to get off of mute here. There are a couple of, they're a little bit more discussion oriented, so it may work better at the end. Do you want me to?
Yeah, okay, let's continue and we'll hit some questions at the end when we talk about the course. So just wanted to talk a little bit more about skills, like the softer skills, or you know, what kind of things you enjoy doing and how that might translate into a specific Salesforce role. So down the left, we've got some kind of softer skills, or you know, the kind of person you might think that you are, plus some of the jobs that you might be involved in. This is not an exhaustive list in any way, but it's just to help you understand and give you a bit of an insight into what it's like. So you do the administrator certification. That by no means means the only job you can be is an administrator, a Salesforce administrator. There are lots of different things you can do. But Salesforce admin is one of the key starting places for a lot of people. It's what quite a few of our mums want to go on and do. Often, you know, they can be a little bit flexible. So that is something that a lot of people off our course do think they would like to do. That is a great one if you enjoy helping people and enjoy problem solving. So an administrator, they would be setting up new users on the instance, looking after data security. They would often be helping people, so helping users who are having trouble using the system or need some new functionality, and then they'd be going away and setting that up. So that is a great one if you want to maintain some of that person-to-person contact. I know myself personally, I can't really see myself kind of working alone in a little room by myself. I enjoy personal contact. So the idea of being able to help people in their job and have a lot of still interpersonal communication is really attractive to me. And that's why something like administration or consultancy is a bit more what appeals to me. However, if you're a bit more target driven, so someone like Shellin, maybe, I don't want to put you in a box there, Shellin, but if you've worked in sales, like it or not, you probably had to work to some targets and been very used to that. Then working in the sales management, so like we were talking about with Deborah, account and sales management, if you're used to that and enjoy it and will enjoy working in that environment, something in that area might suit you. If you're a tech lover and just really want to understand the solution and go on to learn code, which you can do but absolutely do not have to do, then that might be more the kind of route for you. Then we've got things like solution architects and consultants. And this is the bit that I find really interesting of the consultancy side of it, is going in and trying to help a business understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, how Salesforce can help that, how that can make them be a better and more efficient organization. So if you're someone who enjoys that kind of big picture thinking and also problem solving and project management, that kind of area is going to be something that you might find interesting. Then we mentioned like creative skills. If you've worked in something like marketing before, then that might be something you want to go down again in marketing. You can end up with loads of different roles. So you can end up in a role where you're doing both the content creation and creating the solution and the technical side of it that makes it all work. Or you could just work on an entirely technical role within the marketing cloud product. So again, the roles are really different and really varied. Then if you are like a big part for me, the big part of why I enjoy Salesforce is it helps make order out of chaos. That's what I was saying about bringing all my spreadsheets into one place. So if you're a really organized person and quite a logical thinker, Salesforce slots nicely into that kind of thinking, especially when you get into the admin side, the way it all works and the way the platform, as they call it, is built. Yeah, is really kind of works how my mind works in a lot of ways. And then finally, a good communicator. This is actually something that is one of the kind of big key skills to be successful in Salesforce, especially in consultancy or project manager roles, is going back to be able to talk to people who don't know Salesforce about Salesforce. Especially if you're an administrator and you're talking to users, you might be talking to people who aren't particularly technical and aren't really interested in being technical about how they need to use the product. So being a really good communicator will make you a really good administrator or consultant or project manager. It works across all of them. So that's how some of those softer skills, you know, that might be in your, you know, when you're thinking about your strengths, and especially, you know, when we're doing CVs and resumes, when you're thinking about, okay, what are my strengths here? Where am I going to fit? These just gives you an idea of some of that matching. As I said, it's not exhaustive, and I'd advise if you want to talk about your specific situation, then you can book in, we'll give you a link later to book in with Shellin and I, where we can talk a little bit more about your specific experience, kind of what you want to do and where your strengths may lie, then we can talk that through with you. So what next? Get inspired, get informed, get motivated, and be assured. So I'm going to send you, this mainly is to highlight some links I'm going to send you afterwards where you can go and look at more information. So to get inspired, we've got some great links to more examples of supermums who have been through our program, people working in Salesforce, these trailblazers that we've talked about, and how different people from different backgrounds have built successful careers in Salesforce. So I'm going to send you some links, some further resources to explore there. Get informed. So to understand a little bit more about Salesforce, as I mentioned, I always find the customer case studies a really good example of how Salesforce is used across different industries. You will almost definitely be able to find one for whatever industry, and if you can't, tell me and I'll help you find it. But I'm going to send you a link to some of the ones that I mentioned earlier, and also a link to some videos on YouTube. So as I said, Salesforce has a big conference in San Francisco every year, and it's called Dreamforce, and they record all the key speeches. You can watch them online, and I find some of those really useful, really inspirational about what Salesforce is, its products, and again, they do live demos of how customers are using it. So there is a live one on how Adidas use it, and I'll give you that link as well for you to have a look at. So get motivated. So that is a little bit about our our courses and some more information there. And be assured, so we've got Heather in our golden hoodie. So we are a Salesforce official partner. We're completely independent from Salesforce, but Salesforce are very supportive of what we do, as are a lot of the companies in the ecosystem. And I would say that's something that's really grown over the past sort of 18 months since we've had this more exposure. Heather being awarded the golden hoodie by Salesforce, at London World Tour, us getting speaking positions at Dreamforce. Actually, that picture of the whole team, the second one across, is us at Dreamforce. And then we've got pictures of us at community events as well. You know, we've been really welcomed into the community, and a lot of people know what we are and what we're trying to do. And that really benefits you kind of on the recruitment side as well, in terms of Supermum's visibility in the ecosystem and people understanding the quality of the training and what we're trying to deliver. So just got some examples to share with you about Salesforce supporting what we're doing. And then finally, doesn't want to move across. Just to talk through a little bit about the course itself. So we did mention a few things already, that it's available in different time zones. So hopefully wherever you are, you can find a call that will suit you. However, as I said, they are actually all recorded. So we have had people do our administrator course, for example, without ever attending a live webinar. They've just always watched them on catch up. That doesn't mean you don't have any support though, because we have a training team that are there for you, but also, especially on the administrator course, you get set up with a mentor, a one-to-one mentor that you can arrange to speak to at a time that's convenient for you. As I said, mine happened to be on a Sunday, so that you can ask any technical questions, but also my mentor was just really good at helping me understand where my skills would fit and the opportunities for me in the ecosystem, which was really nice and just as valuable. And for me, what was really valuable about a mentor is keeping me on track as well. I knew I was meeting her every Sunday and had to have done my homework by then, or at least attempted it. So it really helped keep me motivated and make sure I really progressed. And work experience. So I think someone mentioned in one of the questions we'll come back to later about being on work experience now. So work experience is a really unique part of our course. We work with some of the consultancies that I mentioned earlier to provide you with work experience, and it's always with a non-profit. So as I said, non-profits get these 10 free licenses to work with, but that doesn't mean they get any help implementing it and doing all the technical side. So we partner you with a senior project manager from a consultancy and put you into a situation where you are either helping with a health check or an upgrade of a system or doing an implementation. So someone will have decided what needs to be done, and then you go away and do it. And again, it's all remote. You don't have to go anywhere in order to do that. But you get some really great experience that you can put on your CV and that you'll get a reference for. And then the not-for-profit gets help with their instance, which is really, really great and really good value for them. So the course you have access to for 1 year. You should finish it within 20 weeks, but you do have access to the material for a year if you want to go back and look at it. Plus we've got exam prep sessions. Heather now does group coaching once a fortnight as well to add into that, which is just to keep you motivated, keep you going. I know they've been doing some stuff lately on things like resilience just to help through these trickier times. And then we've also got an employability module and a recruitment service that hopefully we can help get you into a role. So just practical wise, the next step would be to complete a short application form, book in a call with Shellin or I to discuss your specific circumstances. Then at the moment, we have got an early bird discount available if you sign up and pay before July 1st for our admin course. If you're interested in the marketing course, it will be running in October, and we will have a similar discount running on that shortly as well. Then, any questions on the course so far? Come back to everything. Oh, I forgot I had included this. This is a nice little just screenshot just to show you the Supermums community. So when you join, you get access to the Supermums community, which is obviously all built out on Salesforce, where you can, there's Chatter, which is where you can talk to your peers and other people on your course, which is really nice. Keeps you in touch. You never know. I know quite a lot of people on our latest course actually happen to live fairly near each other, which is strange. They're actually possibly, well, when we're allowed to meet up again, could meet up again. Then we've got homework. So each week of the course for the first 10 weeks, you submit a piece of practical homework and can get some feedback on it from your mentor to make sure you're progressing. And then we've got cases, so that's where you can raise questions for support. And then we've got some other fun stuff, getting engaged on social media. So this is where you would go, it's like your one-stop shop for the training. So that's what it looks like. And then finally, we've got quite a lot more links here, which you will get in a follow-up email. I'll send you the pack. We've got some great stuff going on at the moment. Just if you want more content to understand a bit more about Salesforce, to understand how it could help you in your career, we've got Heather's webinar series, like she's doing a free webinar series shortly about exploring your career in Salesforce for people new to Salesforce, or if you've got a bit of experience, how you can power up your career with some of our courses and just some general helpful content there. We're running a summit at the moment as well, which you can still sign up to even though it's in progress, where you get short videos every day from lots of people that we know who are supportive of Supermums and what we're doing, people outside of Salesforce. So lots of women who are experts in CVs or creating resumes or public speaking, just really short little videos to your inbox every day. And even though you sign up late, you get access to all the previous ones. So do sign up to that if you're interested. And as I said, there's the links there to book a call with us as well if you want to discuss your personal circumstances. So let's have a look at some questions, Shellyan. Are you there? Just going to unmute you.
Yes, I am. Okay, well, some of it's a little bit of just insight and some discussion, but there is a question around just kind of finding it difficult to search for a new job with a perhaps a less related background. In this case, it was a background in HR and not having other Salesforce admin experience. So one thing I might add, Abby, and I know, Abby, the name says Heather Black because you are using Heather's account, but for everyone, this is Abby. So one of the suggestions that was made to me that I thought was a really good idea is to use your dev account that you can get access to, and just use it for your job search. So to actually set up your own org, use Salesforce and build it out and use it for your search so that you're entering in contacts, you're doing the communication, you're just really using that dev account. And that way you've got a lot of experience, but you even could log in and show somebody if they wanted to see the type of work that you do. So that was one suggestion that I thought it was great, that it's still related to the job search, but utilizing the skills and really building out something and using the logic behind it.
Yeah, I've heard being prepared to do a demo is a really, or at least saying that you've got that prepared as well is a really powerful thing. It shows a lot of confidence. Yes. And I think Heather's going to do some tips on how to do that as well. But if you haven't already, make sure you have a chat with Hazel. She might be able to have a think about where you're, so Hazel works in our recruitment side. She'll know what roles are out there at the moment and if there's a logical fit with any of them. But it depends as well whether you want to use your HR background and link into that as well, or whether you want to do something completely different. So it depends whether you want to, because you could leverage your experience before. Perhaps there's a company using Salesforce that manages their HR. So I know, for example, in Supermums, we have an employee section of Salesforce where we keep all of our information about our personal development, about our holiday, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're familiar with Salesforce, that will be a real benefit still working in a HR environment. And what I would say is that may require being fairly proactive. I'd say being quite proactive really benefits you in the Salesforce industry. So it's a bit trickier at the moment because there aren't any live events to go to, but make sure you're showing up to like a lot of the virtual events that are happening at the moment, and just get your name like on the registrations for those events, and people start seeing it and start, looking at your LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn is up to date. And that you're like using that and commenting on stuff. Make sure you've got your certifications on LinkedIn. So when you get your cert, you can add that to your LinkedIn. And I know when I did that, I had a few recruiters get in touch with me straight away. Make sure you are registered with recruiters, because they're the ones who are going to know like where your skills are best placed and what's happening in the industry right now. So you can go to them and say, look, this is me, this is my skill set, you know, where do you see that fit happening for me? So yes, super much, we do want to help you. We don't have access to the entire market though. So definitely, I'm sure you probably already are registered with Hazel. But yeah, keep your search wide, keep looking, keep networking, even on all those online events. It's really, really important and really helpful in the Salesforce industry when you're looking for a role.
Yeah, kind of a related idea, Abby, is, you know, given sort of the homeschooling and the unclear fall back to school season, a lot of moms and parents are having to sort of rethink what they're going to be doing. So if someone was to be, you know, wanting to look to volunteer with a charity a couple days a week, or doing some work projects, doing some volunteering, is there somewhere that, and this is a question I don't actually have much insight into, so perhaps you do, and we can certainly follow up with some other suggestions, but where one might seek that type of opportunity, where to find roles like that, what kind of charities are interested in help?
You can have a look on the Salesforce website, again, around salesforce.org, and you might be able to find out which charities are using Salesforce. A good place to look is also on Salesforce consultancies websites of the clients that they've worked with to implement Salesforce, because then you'll know that those companies are the ones that are using Salesforce, and you can make direct approaches, possibly even speculatively. In terms of volunteering, yeah, there are some platforms in the UK. This is like my old career kind of knowledge, trying to come back here around charity volunteering platforms, things like Do It. And there's one that's focused on more professional skills that I can't remember right now, but perhaps I can pass on later, where you can register your skills and the type of volunteering that you're looking for. And I know certainly when I was working in non-profit, we would check that out and search. You can search by region and search by skill type. You know, if you're looking for someone to come and help with a bit of Salesforce, then, you know, if you put that out there, then they might come to you and say, we need a bit of help. So that's an option. So yeah, look at Salesforce consultancies that help charities. You'll be able to see which charities are using Salesforce. And yeah, if you're looking for experience and want to volunteer, get an account on some of these volunteer websites where you can have a profile and then people can find you.
Great.
Option.
Great insight, great ideas. Abby, where are we going to be hosting this recording? There was a question about where can I find the recording of the webinar?
So it will actually be up, it will be up on the same page where you registered. So when you registered for the webinar, it took you to a Supermum's blog page. There's just a picture there at the moment, but we will post the recording there, and it so via our YouTube channel. So it'll be there.
Perfect. And then there's and Kathy, your question was kind of, you know, programs that may be of use. You have an incredible list of certifications and badges. What I might suggest for you, and Abby may have some different suggestions as well, is for us to connect you with Hazel in our recruiting area. She might be able to give you some really specific feedback that would be of use. But there are a couple of programs, one in particular. So I'd really encourage you to schedule time with, if you're in Canada, you can certainly schedule time with me or with Abby, and we can just talk a little bit more about your specific situation and the certifications you have, and perhaps any feedback that you've received. But you have just really a tremendous wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure there are places that would love to find out about you.
Yeah, we did have a conversation with a consultancy that's got a base out in Canada who wanted to support us. And again, I wasn't expecting to need that information right now, and I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, perhaps we can follow up with looking into that. But yeah, I know them, but I don't personally know a lot about Canada. But I know the recruitment, we're working in partnership with a recruitment company in the US, and they're a global recruitment company as well. So I'm sure they would be working in Canada as well. So we can definitely get some information about that.
Perfect. And I think that let's see, nonprofit.
Oh, there's a question here about events. So,
Perfect.
Minali, was that about Salesforce events you could attend? So I know one that's coming up is the Salesforce DX. So I think there's a link to that probably in our blog, one of our blog posts, a recent one, or just Google Trailhead DX. That's coming up. Then the best place to find, so I'm going, for example, to a not-for-profit users group, the London one. So there are regional groups that have meetings that are just very general, and there are often product-specific groups and industry-specific groups as well. So the best way to find out about these is in the Trailblazer community, and you can search for like by geography or by a product type. So I'm particularly interested, so someone's mentioning here MPSP. So you can go to you can just apply to go and sign up to, I mean, you can go to them when they're happening in actual groups near you, or this one is regional. And those events are quite nice because they're often a bit smaller. So you actually get to speak to people, those regional Trailblazer group meetups. So get in the Trailblazer community, make sure you've got a setup in there, a profile, and start searching for some groups. So you can join them. So they'll often have a chat group that you can actually be a part of, but then they will often organize events. So webinars, virtual meetups, and real life events when they're happening again. So definitely get on in there. And if you're not sure how to do that or anything, then follow up with Shelley and I, and we'll give you a hand.
We do have an anonymous question. Can somebody get a job without actually having a certification for whatever reason, but have some skills on Trailhead? I think there are many people that work in the ecosystem that do not have a certification. I think that there are also some ways to self-study and earn that certification. It's harder, certainly. That's what I did initially. I didn't know about Supermoms. I did a self-study with Trailhead, and I so wish I had invested in Supermoms at the time. I am involved with the consultancy course, and I'm so grateful. But there are some ways to pursue it. And if you would like to, schedule a call with Abby or I, we could also tell you a little bit more about some options that might be helpful. But I don't know if you have any additional thoughts around getting a job without the certification.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's pretty hard. I think Salesforce, in the grand scheme of things, is a relatively new company, right? So there are people working in Salesforce who've been working in it. They're in, a lot of their career and for the entirety of Salesforce's existence. And they're the kind of people who have got into it from the ground up before Trailhead even existed. And you get people as well called accidental admins. And this is how a lot of people come to Salesforce. And actually a lot of people come to our program because they've been in a role, kind of like I was, they've been in a role that the company or the organization has got Salesforce and someone's gone, here you go, we need someone to do this. Why don't you give it a go? And so they've got to know the product without necessarily having to do the certification. And then if you, find yourself in that position and you do end up with lots of experience behind you, then you can get away maybe with not having your certification. It probably will come up at some point though, and some employers will demand it, particularly if you want to go into something like consultancy. The certifications are your badges of honor that you know what you're doing. So they're probably more likely to want you to have them. I know that Heather as a consultant I don't like to put words in her mouth, but she'd be very dubious about taking on anyone who didn't have their certification, especially now because there's so many resources for learning. It's like, why haven't you got it if you can do it? And it would be very difficult if you haven't got any experience. But it's the same thing because you do get people as well who have 10 certifications, but not really any experience of using those certifications. So it's always especially once you get into Salesforce, it's like you've got to keep up the experience with your certifications and work them kind of equally to have the best chance of kind of moving up the career ladder. So I think like Shelley said, I wouldn't like to say it's impossible, but it's going to be a lot harder, especially getting into the ecosystem. There are now a lot more organizations who are offering training to people who are new. So there are more people that are new coming in with the certification. So they're the people you just got to remember and think about who you're competing against. And an employer is kind of more likely to take someone with that certification than not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what you've got to think about.
Yeah. And there are questions about kind of working from home, especially now, you know, whether it was before you have children at home, you want to be present, and or now with the, you know, situation. There are certainly positions that are remote, which provide a lot of flexibility because you could work for companies outside of your area. I would say that it's really helpful to have some more experience, or a little experience, definitely, to be working fully remotely and stepping into those roles. But it is, I recently had a conversation with Hazel in our recruiting area, and she said that, you know, there are a lot of those kinds of jobs. It is a little harder when somebody's brand new, if they don't have the work experience, that sometimes they have to step into something else, get a little more experience. But that's really one of our the driving parts of our mission, is to really help moms get well-paid work that is flexible.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be, you know, the one thing that this COVID situation has done is made people and companies realize that it's all possible, especially if you have a piece of technology like Salesforce. There is no excuse really not to allow it, especially if you're a parent and you've got kids at home and you put in a request for flexible working and you can say, I can do my entire job at home and can prove it, then, you know, they've got nowhere to go with that really. So what I would say is, yes, sometimes it can be tricky to go in, and the job isn't necessarily always advertised as remote and flexible, but like once you've got your foot in the door, once you've got that little bit of experience behind you, you know, if you're moving to a new industry, you're not going to pretend you're going to have the perfect situation in your lap, you know, instantly after you finish the course. There is an element of, you know, paying your dues, getting into that role. The thing is, with Salesforce, you can then move very quickly to that flexible career. And the more skills you get, and every day of experience is going to enable you to move into that position where you're calling the shots a little bit more around how and where you want to work. So Shelley and I are really, and it depends as well what kind of role you want to go into. So Shelley and I both work for like a relatively small social enterprise. We work hours contracts, and we work it pretty much, you know, when we want to. Like I'm working now. I didn't work this afternoon. I spent the afternoon with my son. So, you know, we're really lucky we have that flexibility. Different companies have different approaches, but I think, yeah, the current situation, that what Salesforce enables you to do, mean that it's a lot more likely in this industry than in others.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of companies are now, they were forced to get set up for remote working. And so there's so many more companies now that are much more comfortable, and they're set up where in the past, you know, 4 months ago, that wouldn't have been the case. So I think the ability to sort of build a case for working remotely or flexibly is so much better today. So it's although it's a difficult way to have gotten here for Salesforce and those in the ecosystem, I think the opportunities have just expanded over this time, instead of, you know, what a lot of other industries are experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, I can see we've got a question asking actually about living in London. What's the prospect of getting a Salesforce admin job? Yeah, I mean, we've been placing people. Hazel has been placing people the past couple of weeks in admin jobs. And again, like I would say, just think quite broadly and have an open mind about the role. Like it might not be called Salesforce admin, but if you get to do admin as part of it, then, you know, you're still there, you're learning. I don't know from this what your other experience is, but again, it's about thinking, okay, how can I leverage this experience, whatever that is that I've already got, and work, you know, where are those opportunities going to be? And I don't know what industry you're interested in. Oh, I think you said earlier about not-for-profit. Sorry, I'm just reading the chain now. So interested in working not-for-profit. So actually an interesting thing about not-for-profit at the moment. So Heather's consultancy economic change specializes in not-for-profit. And I know a bit about this because of my career background, is that it's actually funny because we actually haven't had too much of an issue with so in the administrator course, we take super mums go on not-for-profit projects. So you go on charity implementations, and, you know, we had concerns about, you know, our charity still going to carry on with this? And a lot of them have, and actually more business has come because with the way charities are funded, they have restricted funding. So if they've already got a piece of funding that says it's for Salesforce and technology implementation, they've got to use it for that. And because so many charities aren't doing all the work that they are used to be doing, they've got people sitting around, what can I do now? You know, what can we achieve now? That could be a Salesforce implementation because they can do it entirely remotely and they might not be doing other things. So actually, charities, strangely, we've seen that they're still doing Salesforce implementations. They're still having their Salesforce people be getting on with, you know, doing all the admin work that perhaps they don't always have time to do because their charities are often very stretched with people and they're trying to do the best they can for their service delivery, and actually now they've got this downtime to actually put into things like Salesforce. So, you know, no promises, but we've seen some very positive signs of charities still continuing to do Salesforce implementations and to work on their Salesforce. So yeah, good a chance as anyone. Did I miss any questions? Because I hopped around to the latest question there. Just trying to check if there's any more questions.
Yeah, there was one other about working in India, but I'd say it was really a similar situation. Certainly reach out to us. We can share a little bit more, but it's really the same process of wherever you're located. There's certainly Salesforce work in India and ways to plug into that community.
I always see, again, it's going back to social, like Facebook, Salesforce and Salesforce careers and the help you can get. There's a lot on social media. So make sure you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So there's a lot of Facebook groups that various ones of us are members of, and I always see a lot of people commenting or chatting or talking about jobs in India in those groups. So get on Facebook, go to groups, put in Salesforce, see what you find. You might find some more regional groups that are local to your area as well. And that goes for everyone, not just whoever asks about jobs in India. But yeah, do make sure you're in those communities and contributing and listening to what's going on, because that will make sure, you know, when the opportunities do come up, you're there and ready for them.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that Twitter is, I wasn't on Twitter. I had an account, but I wasn't active on Twitter until I started the Trailhead process to get certified. And somebody said, you just must plug into Twitter. And I would say it's an incredible Salesforce community to be able to follow the leaders and in Salesforce at the, you know, other companies using it, and just the people that are sort of the leaders out in the field that are, you know, MVPs, and you just get to see projects they're working on, the latest, greatest news, lots of social interaction. It's great to see, you know, what's happening. I find it incredibly inspiring, and you do have access to commenting and seeing who's active. So I would really encourage you to plug into Twitter to just look around, and you can see what people are working on and different opportunities and their backgrounds. So I found it really inspiring.
You just mentioned the word MVP there, and I remember for ages I was like, what are these people going on about MVPs? What is MVP? I don't understand what MVP is. So just to explain, if you don't know, MVP status is awarded by Salesforce to people who are working in the ecosystem. Lots of new words for some of you today, who are working in the ecosystem, who contribute a lot to the community. That could be through things like, you know, setting up opportunities for other people to learn. It could be being particularly helpful on so the Trailblazer community. So on the Trailblazer community, you know, even when you're out in a job and you can't do something, you can post a question in the Trailblazer community and someone out there in this ecosystem will answer it for you. And, you know, people who are big at contributing to that, the kinds of people who get MVP status. We've got some great MVPs who are mentors or ambassadors and part of our programs. So we've got, for example, Christine Marshall. She has a blog called The Everyday Admin. So again, I'd recommend you know, just to keep your learning, keep knowing what's going on in the sector, sign up to those, get it to your inbox, understand what's going on, follow her on Twitter, you know, make connections that way, and yeah, just keep your ear to the ground, basically.
Yes.
Someone was saying, can I get help writing my CV? I've noticed that you're a current supermum. Okay, so part of our supermum course, there should be an employability module. So like, we've got Heather on the Hazel, sorry, on the recruitment side. The first thing she will ask you is, have you done the employability module? Do that. Then when it comes to registering with her, get a draft going, but she will help give you some tips and advice when it comes to actually applying. But there are some resources. I think Heather's done one. There was a video as part of our summit about how to write a good CV. So register for the summit and check out the video. It was a couple of days ago now. There's a short video, 10-15 minutes on writing your CV. So yes, you can look there first. And then when you're ready, you can go for once you've done a bit of work on it, you can go for the one-to-one with Hazel. And when you're actually looking for a role and telling her what you want, she can then help you shape it a little bit. I hope that's helpful.
And then there's one more around really many of the jobs have minimum years of experience. I think that it's appropriate, as long as you're not misrepresenting it, to, if you've been in a course, for instance, this 6 months, you're not starting with no experience. You've had some work experience, you've had some mentoring, and also just being able to frame it. They want that, but frankly, there's more Salesforce admin jobs available than there are admins to fill them. And if you can bring things to the table and prove that you have the knowledge, you have skill set, you have mentoring, that you know how to search it out, get answers, get questions. I think, it's, although they ask for it, it certainly would encourage you to be bold. And frankly, if you haven't signed up for the summit, I would. There's some really good nuggets, and women in general tend to undersell themselves and want to be fully qualified for a job, where men will tend to just absolutely go for a job that is above where they're technically qualified for and get those positions. So I'd really encourage you to explore that if you're being bold enough, brave enough, and just definitely plug into the summit. I found it really encouraging. They're just like quick little 15-minute, there's some wonderful leaders that are working right in this space.
I would just plug in 2 comments there as well. One is to, I can't tell from your comment whether you've got any experience or if it's just not 2 years of experience, but make sure the experience you do have is out there for people to see, and get recommendations. So I know when you're sending a CV forward that you won't necessarily put a recommendation on your resume or on your CV or on the application form. A lot of jobs now via application forms, so you've just got to put in what they ask you, and not, there's sometimes a limit to what you can add. But honestly, in the Salesforce world, especially if it's via recruiters, they will look at your LinkedIn. So make sure if you've done work experience, you're asking for recommendations. On LinkedIn, there's a section where people can recommend you and put a statement about having worked with you. So make sure you're doing that. So Salesforce or not, even if it's not Salesforce experience, even if it's another experience, ask whoever's recommending you to mention some of the transferable skills that we talked about. So things like if you've ever done any project management, or had to manage multiple responsibilities, or think about the kind of jobs you're going for and what they're going to be looking for, and make sure that is up to date and that is very clear on your LinkedIn. So especially if you're looking at applying for jobs, get on that LinkedIn, make sure it is reflecting the kind of skills that recruiters are going to be looking for, because that is one of the first places people are going to go, to be honest. So yeah, make sure it's up to date. Yeah, but just as Shelin said, and I think as well through supermums, this is what I was saying about supermums becoming more well known in the ecosystem. So we do have companies coming to us with vacancies where, yes, in other circumstances, they may be looking for people with more experience, but they know what we're trying to do here. And they know that we're trying to bring new people in, trying to bring more, people with different backgrounds in, trying to bring women in. So there's a big emphasis on a lot of companies now, especially in technology and around diversity, making sure there's people especially women in tech is a big thing. So companies who come to us know that some of our mums may not have the experience, or not everyone's a mum, but some people on our courses may not have all that experience behind them, but they know the quality of our training and what we've set you up with at that standard. So that does help as well, having us on your CV. And even if you're admin certified. We do have some other things that you can join in with as well, to move on from there and support you in your first role as well. So, do check those out. But I think that is an important advantage of kind of super mums as well, is kind of we're backing you and saying, we've trained you well.
Yeah. Well, and there is, I think that's a big piece of it, is the super mums community. And certainly if you're in the program, take advantage of talking to the volunteers, mentors, instructors, to either of us, because there are some wonderful supporters within the Salesforce organization as well, and then recruiting teams. There is another question about Salesforce being implemented in schools and around administrative tasks, and they were thinking primarily of sales. So Nikki, I would say that there's a tremendous education niche for Salesforce. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's some really great things you can see on the Salesforce website. The recruiting company that we work with works heavily in the education sector. And I would say I knew Salesforce from a sales perspective, but I've been just blown away by what Salesforce can do in operations, account management, just reporting, and everything outside of sales. It's truly amazing. So education is a really brilliant part of it.
There is a specialist product for education, and I think Heather has fairly recently, I think it's quite a new product, and I think Heather's fairly recently done a course on it actually. And I think it's, at the moment, it's a lot bigger in the US than it is in the UK, but it is growing. So yeah, this is where we talk about, you go off and you find your niche, and the admin place is the place to start, and then you can build, well, unless you've got a marketing background, but generally the admin course is the place to start. And that not only gets you the baseline skills, but it introduces you to this world, so you can spend the time that you're doing the course getting to know more people, speaking to the mentors and finding out more where all these opportunities are, and where you might fit, and thinking about, okay, what is my path going to be? Because your different people's paths look very different. So I do want to go down the NPSP route, like the not-for-profit route. So there's a piece of software that sits on top of Salesforce to make it suitable for charities to use. So I'd like to specialize in that. But maybe someone who has a sales background would like to specialize in the sales platform. So there's another certification for that. Maybe you've got a customer service background, so you want to specialize in the Service Cloud element. Or if you're a consultant, you have to go all of them. So you can, part of, during the course is introducing you to what all of these things are, and helping you figure out where you go from there. Definitely, one of the things, actually, I didn't mention it specifically, but if you look at the handout that I send you, most of you, just from recognizing a few of your names, I know you will have heard of Trailhead, but if you haven't, get on Trailhead. There's, I'll send you the specific link, but you can explore careers on Trailhead, and it tells you about all the different certifications. And if you want this kind of role, what certification path you might like to go down. And nearly all of them start with the admin certification and then go off in different directions. But if you're in this place of trying to picture, okay, what am I going to do in 5 years' time? Where am I going to be? What am I aiming towards? That's a good place to look, because it gives you some ideas of what, in theory, what you can do, and then some examples of people who've done those tracks or who are on those tracks. So head there. Oh, sorry, I stopped sharing my window a little quickly there. But I can't see any more questions. Can you, Shellen?
I think we answered everyone's questions.
Okay, great. Well, yes, it's gone on a lot longer than I expected it to. These things always do, but it's great because we're answering your questions. So thank you all so much for joining us, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. We're going to let you carry on with your day or your evening. Don't forget, the next steps, booking a call with Shellen and I. You'll get an email tomorrow with the details of how to book in a call with us, or you can reply to the email that I sent out earlier, I think, as well, and the reminder email, and get in touch with us if you want. So book in a call if you're ready to go for it. Apply now. Again, all the links will be in there. Don't forget to register for the summit. and also Heather's free webinars that she's going to be doing over the next few weeks about how to kickstart or accelerate your career in Salesforce. More great stuff for you, hopefully keep you motivated and inspired. And we will see you all soon. Bye. Bye, everyone.